Hello guys, welcome to Subcode, and today we are looking at code unpacked in minutes. So first episode, we are focusing on the microservices architecture, and we'll be explaining that to you in a few minutes. So have you ever wondered how the big tech, big stack companies basically cater to their clients? Typically your Netflix, your Amazon, your YouTube, or Spotify. How do these guys reach to their big client base? So we'll be unpacking that and how this architecture or design architecture is very handy to such big tech companies. So this will be microservice architecture unpacked in 5 minutes. Let's get right into it. So we have legacy design architecture such as your monolithic architecture, which was heavily adopted for legacy systems, and those legacy systems would have one application with all the modules packaged as part of that application. Different components, different features will all form part of one gigantic application. And it had a lot of issues when it comes to code maintainability, release to client or market, and deployment issues. Downtime, one module has an issue, the entire application may be impacted or affected by one module having an issue. So to mitigate this risk and get rid of such concerns, the microservices architecture came into play, where we would have these different modules separated and housed independently and maintained and developed independently by separate teams, so that we're able to still keep the same process flow but decouple all of the different modules into their independent applications or micro applications that feed into the entire business process or business objective. And these different services can communicate to each other using different mechanisms. They can call each other via API calls, or they can have your asynchronous messaging, such as your Kafka, your RabbitMQ, or even using webhooks. So all of these mechanisms were put into place so that these different services can communicate and share business process flow. And you will have, let's say on your Netflix, you would have a service A for user registration, service B for user subscription, service C for user communication. So all of these services would cater for different flows within the entire piece of the application or platform. So things like that or concerns like that were basically were part of the concerns that actually brought about the microservices architecture. So once all of these services have been decoupled of the gigantic monolith, and they are basically set on different code base within the space, you are then looking at your integration and deployment, where you can set up your CI/CD pipelines. You can use your GitLab or whatever CI/CD methodology you're following. That is still fine. And you will have your CI/CD pipelines basically running these different Docker containers to make sure that your microservices are containerized and are able to basically be scaled according to the traffic demand. And because of these flexibilities, such as your Docker being able to containerize the microservices, and you are able to utilize your Kubernetes, that will be the container orchestration tool, to enable you to basically cater for multiple instances of your service via the containers that you have. You are then able to say for service A, service B, if the traffic is heavy, you can basically upscale those or scale up those services according to the traffic and according to the demand. And if service B does not require or does not call, does not receive that number of traffic or that heavy load, it doesn't need to scale up. And also on service A, you can basically scale down if the traffic is not as heavy, and one instance can basically cater for that particular traffic and that particular load. And these are the mechanisms that came and the benefits that came with the microservices architecture, because now you can have the freedom of catering for the traffic need or the load that is hitting different modules and different components of the entire business platform or enterprise solution. So these are the implementations within your infrastructure and your design that you need to have in place. And then going forward, what you then have is your production support. You have your microservices. You've set up your CI/CD pipelines. You have your Docker images. You have your Kubernetes, which is the orchestration tool to make sure that you're able to scale up and scale down based on the demand. You also have your continuous testing to make sure that all the process flows or the journeys that impact different parts of the system, different services are thoroughly tested and are running as expected. And then you also need your monitoring matrix to be available so that you can be able to pick up when a service is down or a service has some issues or is failing to process certain transactions. That is very important because then you can also using the matrix from your monitoring to basically get when the traffic is high or when the traffic is low, so that at peak traffic you scale up and at minimal traffic you scale down, and you're able to maintain the cost of running and maintaining your system. And with any bugs that come from the monitoring, you can basically have the team ready to address any issue across all these microservices. And you know very well that each service is independent, and because it's independent, you can basically deal with the issue at source and without impacting other business flow within the entire enterprise solution. And with that, that is the microservices architecture in a minute. So until next time, for now, cheers.